about a 6 or a 7 work-wise. Personally, I'm good, so yeah, like you, Rich, never go for 10, so probably a 9. Okay. In terms of work, most of my work over the last few years, I've built up a retainer base. So I've got regular income streams and regular clients that I'm going out to see, and I'm working with on a monthly basis. Most of that, apart from one, has dropped off because of COVID. People can't afford the marketing at the moment or don't see it as a priority. Generally, it's a case of they can't afford it at the moment because they're having to furlough people. I have picked up various bits of project work, which is keeping me going all right at the moment. And it's just waiting to see really what happens with the manufacturers as they come back, whether some of this, the retainer work I had picks back up. I'm promoting sort of my online courses and things like that as a way to try and attract people in. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Right. Cheers, Jackie. Thank you very much indeed. Holly.
Morning, everyone. So I'm Holly Crosby. I do wellbeing coaching, training, counselling. So probably about an 8. Prior to lockdown, probably 99% of what I did was face-to-face. So a little bit difficult now in person. But now I've started to offer one-to-ones for staff within businesses. So, I mean, prior to lockdown, stress, anxiety, depression in the workplace was massive. Throwing a global pandemic, it's going to get worse. And we keep hearing all the time about businesses bouncing back. Well, businesses won't bounce back if people running them, working in them, are not in a good place themselves. So I'm starting to look at how that will work and how that can work. I'm hearing from a lot of people as well that business owners, team leaders, managers, they're struggling to do their job online, also support all of their staff, furloughed or not, and have these conversations that they're not used to and give out support in lots of different ways. So hoping to be able to bridge some of that as well. And if I can just really quickly say as well, I'm also going to be looking into funding for this. Never applied for funding grants, never done anything with that. So if afterwards anyone could give me any tips or pointers, I'd greatly appreciate for those businesses that actually wouldn't be able to afford this, but really could do with some help to support their staff. So that's me.
We'll put you in touch with the guys at Skillsbank, Holly. They've launched, maybe Jill talk about in a bit, but they've actually talked about some specific programs for people in this crisis, and there's a big area around mental health awareness and stuff like that. So we'll talk to you about that.
Fab, thanks.
Okay,
that's
great stuff. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, morning, Andy. Jason Thelwell from Bayani Law. Sorry, suited and booted today. I'm in the office because I've got the delightful job of carrying out all of our health and safety risk assessments today. So yeah, that's going to be fun. So yeah, I try palm it off on other people, but they'll not let me. So so that's my job for today. 9 definitely. You know, always as optimistic as we possibly can be. I think one of the things that that I'll carry on doing differently from before is as I think somebody's alluded to already, that you know, a lot of my work used to be sort of face-to-face one-to-ones, where I think now, you know, a lot more of it's going to be this type of meeting, which is good in a sense because what we do in terms of HR, employment law, and health and safety, you know, we can do that for clients throughout the whole of the UK. And so, you know, in Sheffield, the local area where we're based, we can, you know, we can always sort of jump in the car and go and see people. But if we've got a client, so I took on a new client last week in a care home in Taunton, you know, if they've got an issue, then, you know, you can't sort of really jump in the car and pop and see them. So, so I think this is a, you know, great platform. So it's probably changed my way of thinking a little bit in terms of how to be a little bit more personable. Rather than speaking to people on the phone 2-3 hours drive away, we can do it from a virtual face-to-face meeting. So that's one thing that I've learned out of this whole lockdown we're in.
Great. Well, we'll be talking about that, see how other people are reacting to that as we get going. Danny, welcome.
Hello, morning guys. Yes, I'm the Assistant Sales Manager at Highlander Computing Solutions. I guess for personal, I'd probably say around a 7. So I've got the missus in my ear. We just had to postpone our wedding because of everything that's going on, so not the best. Work-wise, it's pretty busy, and we're just taking one day at a time, really. We've still got plenty of projects booked in, so and we've got around 12 sales guys, and we're down to about 6, so we've got a little bit more of a workload. But yeah, still positive, keeping busy.
Excellent. Cheers, Danny. Thank you.
No worries.
Alison.
Oh, sorry, I was having IT issues then. I'm pressing all the buttons and nothing was happening. So I'm Alison. I am operations manager for a medical device company. We're quite quiet still at the minute, and I think will be, although there's now plans for NHS departments to start going back to business as usual. It will be slow. But we've got lots of new products coming for later this year, so that should really kind of boost us. We'll have had a bad 6 months, but hopefully the new products will mean our sales will increase and improve quite a lot. Personally, probably everything's back to normal. So I've got a horse that I've not been able to go and see. I can go and ride him now. I've got dogs, so we're out walking every day with the dogs. They think it's great. And a routine's really settled in terms of working from home and fitting everything in. And the same for everybody else who's working. So half our staff are furloughed. We're just starting to talk about getting a few back to do some projects ready for the restart. And in terms of the way that we're working as a company, it's completely changed. And for the first time in ages, it feels really good, really positive. In things differently. It's probably the change that we needed, really.
Okay,
So,
maybe talk a bit about that, Alison.
yeah, an 8 or a 9 at the minute.
Great.
So all good.
Thank you. Sam.
Morning. I'm going to go against what Rich says. I'm a 10 this week, had a really good week. I'm still furloughed, but I'm looking for lots of webinars still, new contacts, popping up in various networking groups as I look for what my future might look like if my role's not brought back from furlough. Offering advice, free support where needed. It's nice to see Nigel. I helped him with Trello a few weeks ago when he just said it was some good support. So yeah, I'm positive at the moment.
Brilliant, that's great, Sam. Thanks very much indeed. And Sam's helping us with something as well, so she's very kindly offered her services. So that's hopefully we'll tell you a bit about that as we get it going. But thanks for that, Sam. Nigel, welcome back, sir.
Just unmuting myself. Sorry about that. Good morning, everybody. It's Nigel. The company is Boot Telecom. Everybody's talking about the new normal at the moment, but it's been business as usual here. We've been just getting on with looking after customers. But I guess something that is new is we're doing a lot more of this kind of meeting, which means that we're doing more meetings than we've ever done to face. And as a result, we picked up 3 customers last week, 1 in Kettering and 2 in Bristol, that we would never have dealt with had it not been for this kind of conferencing. So it really is working well for us. So I'm going to go with an 8, but that's because I'm a Yorkshireman and I never go more than that.
Okay. Cheers, Nigel. We're expanding the markets for you, this stuff.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Neil.
Hi, Andy. Yeah, I'm not on mute. Neil Roberts, Just Telecom. I hate to sound negative. I'm probably about a 5 or a 6 today, so I've dropped since our last session. I suppose the lockdown shine has definitely worn off. Business-wise, we're extremely busy. I'm not complaining there. It's the uncertainty now. I think we'd gone into lockdown. We went through a period of we can cope with this. But as we appear to be potentially coming out the other side, there's lots of unknowns, and I don't know what this new norm looks like. I miss the office. I miss my staff. I miss the old times, and I know you've got to look forward. But we saw Boris on the Vague magazine earlier. So the schools are going back, but we received a letter yesterday from the school saying, send your kid back, but it'll be, very much kind of like a concentration camp style. So I don't really know kind of what the whole wheels are in motion to coming out as a country of lockdown. And I suppose that's what's kind of propelling my kind of middle of the road 5 and 6 out of 10.
Okay. Cheers, Neil. Thanks for that. Thanks very much. Chrissy, welcome.
Morning. Sorry, took me by surprise there. So I'm Chrissy and I specialise in leadership coaching and development. So my company is You Transition. And I suppose business-wise, I'm a bit like Jackie. Most of my clients are big corporate clients and they've kind of put everybody on hold. Training budgets have been put on hold. So they still want to carry on, but I don't know when that will be. When you know, budgets get re-released again. So I'm currently looking at kind of working with smaller businesses, so businesses where the decision holder is the manager or the CEO or whatever, rather than the corporates where you have to go through lots of kind of layers to get a decision on a budget spend. And you know, I think as Holly was saying, it's about helping people, leaders at this time, cope with that kind of that place of ambiguity and all the challenges of managing remotely, not really knowing what the thing is the right thing to do, and kind of helping them create their own new normal within their own leadership environment. So I think, you know, things feel a bit different, sort of like this week, the last couple of weeks. They feel like they're starting to move. People feel like they're starting to get used to kind of what normal or new normal could look like. So I think starting to feel a bit more positive this week. So yeah, but that's seven.
Great stuff. Cheers. Thanks, Chrissy. Thank you very much indeed. Jill, how about you? You're on silent, Jill. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. So yeah, what I was saying, I'm a bit of a blend of everyone really. I'm a little bit like Neil. I'm a bit hervy-quirvy. I don't quite like this middle ground. I actually think I preferred it before when we knew what we were really doing, and now it's like a little bit, what do you want to do? But living in the house with Mr. Hanselman, you have to be positive and look forward, which I am anyway, I am. We are working really hard and Holly, we will tell you about the Skills Bank stuff, because there is a lot of stuff up there helping people through this transition period. And we've just got our stuff up. So that's how we've missed Danielle, because Danielle is the person who does all that for us. So maybe that's why I'm a bit stressed this week, because I don't like doing stuff like that. But we have now got the courses up there, and we're helping people sort of with their strategy, or we've got a group idea, which is a series of two-hour seminars, which Andy's worked really, really hard on. Some super content. I've seen that James, you're doing something with Goldman Sachs. It's very similar to that. And there's huge funding. They're talking about 80% funding towards it. So it's well worth having a look at. And we'll be circulating it later, I think, aren't we, Andy?
We are, yeah.
So we'll let everybody know about that as well. So yeah, I'm okay, really. I am okay.
What's your score?
7.
Thank you very much. Gary, how about you, sir?
I'm an 8 or a 9, Andy. I mean, I'm a commercial disputes lawyer, so in some ways we're, at least in the short term, fairly sheltered from things because we have some work that is relatively short term in nature, but then other stuff, we've got court cases that go on for 2 or 3 years, and those need progressing anyway. But as I think some other people were saying, it's more about thinking about what the future actually is and what it looks like. And we're a big business, so we've got some people who are in sectors where there's not much going on. There's other people who are very busy. Sadly, I think the divorce lawyers are very busy, and the property lawyers aren't so busy, and we're somewhere in the middle. But otherwise, I'm pretty positive. Thanks.
Okay, cheers, Gary. Thanks much indeed. James, how about you, sir?
Yeah, hi, so I'm James at Steel City. Sort of still the middling ground for me at the moment. Not really appreciating the remote side of it too much, and obviously the business is bubbling away, but I don't think people have got the appetite to buy yet, and I don't think we should be manoeuvring away into wholesale PPE. I think that would be a suicide box. But Goldman Sachs course is a 4-week course that started this week, which has already delved straight into value propositions. So that's been a good exercise. Got a dilemma on recruitment. So got to try and replace a bookkeeper, which I'm going to do internally, which is very scary because I'm going to get somebody trained up that isn't a bookkeeper to be my bookkeeper. So sort of 5 a.m. thinking about how I'm going to tackle that. But no, middling ground, I reckon. Yeah, about 5.
Okay, cheers, James. Thanks very much indeed. Charlotte, how about you?
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I've not spoken enough this morning yet. Yeah, personally, I'm feeling good this week. I think, which is strange because I think like other people, I love getting out and about and doing like physical networkers is not the right term, but seeing people in person. And I thought I would hate sort of this lockdown business and not being able to get out and about, but I think Zoom is certainly filling that void of the meetings and things. I've gotten a great routine. I'm enjoying working from home, and yeah, I'm feeling good. Again, the sun's out, so it makes everything 10 times easier. Sitting in the garden after work with a book and a beer, I can't complain. Work-wise, I think if it's okay, Andy, I'll fill in for Darren a bit later on.
Absolutely.
So we'll update later.
And your score, please?
I'd say an 8.
8, excellent. That's great. Cheers, Charlotte. Thanks so much indeed. Marie, how are you doing?
Hello everyone, it's Marie from Sheffield Hospitals Charity. I'm good, thank you. I'd say work-wise, probably about an 8. Personal, probably about a 9. Although we've got a pet snail now, so I think the family's starting to lose it, I think. But generally, we're just enjoying family time a lot, so that's really nice. A bit like what Charlotte said, I think I'm used to being around lots of people, and I like talking to people face to face. So I thought I'd miss that, but I don't know. I think I'm coping with all that better than I thought I would. But yeah, generally just getting on with things. Thank you.
Great stuff, excellent. We actually found a pet snail yesterday, didn't we, Jill? Not supposed to tell you about that one, but we found him. He's invaded our house, but we're looking after him, so that's all right. Kate, how about you?
Sorry, I was trying to use the space bar but it didn't work. Morning, everyone. I'm Kate from City Taxis. I'd say I'm probably about a 9 this week. Next week, we're hoping to launch City Grab in Derby, so that's exciting. And then our 19-week-old puppy is almost trained, so working from home is becoming a little bit easier now as well.
Great stuff. And maybe hear a bit later on about City Grab. We had for those that weren't there, we did a brilliant event last week with Unlimited magazine. We had Arnie Singh from City Taxis telling us all the things that they've been up to, and particularly the City Grab thing and the innovations that are becoming their sort of new normal. So again, you might be updating us on that if that's all right, because there's some quite exciting stuff there. Thanks very much. Simon, welcome.
Hi Andy, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Yeah, good. Sorry I'm late. My daughter's had an allergic reaction this morning, so I was nurse and medic, so I was late. So I don't know the question. What's the question?
Basically, the question is, who are you? What do you do? And what's your score out of 10 as to how you're sort of seeing things at the moment? Just a brief update, really.
Okay, so I'm Simon Stokes from Peak Outdoor. We're an outdoor pursuits company. So it's obviously a challenging time for us because the outdoor industry is pretty much just stopped. It's fine for me because I sold my business last year, so financially it's not an issue for me, but this year was kind of when it was all meant to kick off, and I placed a lot of foundations last year because I decided to have a year out, but placed some foundations last year to start things this year, and obviously nothing started. It stopped before it started because our season tends to be April, March through to September. So obviously this has come at the wrong time. It's interesting though because we're now looking. The outdoor industry is exactly what it is. You know, you don't tend to have many Zoom meetings and stuff. You tend to get a client on the internet and then you meet 10 of them on the hill or on a crag. Now the restrictions have been changed. We can start to do things like that, but it's more on a one-to-one basis. So it's just if I'm honest, it's a bit of a pain because you've got to change all your SOPs, your risk assessments to include what are you going to do if you're doing one-to-one, which is a real challenge because nobody really knows. It's difficult. I'm in Mountain Rescue and we had a call out on Tuesday, and even Mountain Rescue were really organised. There were some issues around goggles and keeping safe. So for me, it's less an issue around business and business continuity because I'm lucky enough that, that's not a worry at the minute. But it's more worry around health and safety, risk, spreading the disease. So that's just my main consideration at the minute. So from a perspective of business-wise, that's kind of like probably a 5. I'm a fairly positive person. From a personal perspective, Sheffield Wednesday's not lost in the last few months, Andy, I think you'll notice. That's good. So, as long as this continues, we won't lose, so that's good. But personal-wise, things are good because I'm at home with the family, and, we've got quality time, and looking forward to my son going to university in September, but I've just been looking at that this morning, and how the universities are going to deal with it's interesting. You're paying 10 grand for maybe doing an online thing that they've never done before. So that's interesting. And my daughter working home from doing homeschooling, I think the schools have been excellent. She's just been getting up and doing her 4 or 5 hours remotely, which I think is really interesting. So yeah, I joined today just to see how the rest of the business community is going, because as you know, I've not been around for about a year. So it's interesting to see everybody's stories and see how they're coping with it. From a personal perspective, I'd say I'm an 8, I'm a 9. Wednesday's not lost, so that's got to be worth an 8.
Cheers, Simon. Thank you. And last but not least, but Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm from TDC. We do audio-visual integration. I'd say that as normal, 8 or a 9. Things have been pretty normal for us all the way through, and at the moment it looks the same. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Great stuff. Cheers, Michael. Okay. Thanks very much indeed. So as I say, and I think Nigel mentioned it, this sort of new normal is one of those buzzwords that everybody seems to be sort of flinging around now, and there's lots of, if you're not pivoting and you're doing these things, you're obviously doing something wrong. Jill and I were we actually had this time last week, actually, we were at a virtual conference for 3 hours. It was quite interesting, 6 different speakers, and there were some fantastic ones and some maybe not so good, but that's the beauty of this stuff. You can sort of nip in and out and nobody can see you. But some of the things that people talked about were particularly the decisions that we've got as a business. One particularly guy talked about whether at the end of all this you can go back or you can go forward. He talked about you can recover or you can renew, but he also talked about revert to normal or create your own new world, and this whole way of how do we sort of do things in the future. And that's what we just thought we'd do is just sort of look at this. At the Unlimited event last week, Karen Mosley from HLM Architects, and something she's talked about before, but she talks about a bit like being on an elastic band, that you can, at the end of it, you can go back or you can actually bounce forward. And I'm just interested in any things that people are doing now that either now becoming their way of doing things that they want to keep doing. I was picking up on what Nigel was saying. Certainly for us, the Zooming side of things is something that I think I maybe was a bit cynical about before, but realising that it is a way of doing things. And clearly for us also, maybe when I do online webinars and things, I'm doing one in India tomorrow, India and Canada apparently, so that'll be quite interesting, see how that goes. So it's opening the world up to us. But I know, Marie, you just sent us a bit of an email about sort of things you're having to do differently. Do you want to just sort of share with us what those things are?
Yeah, so one of our biggest incomes as the charity is our Sheffield Hospitals lottery. So normally we have people who stand inside the hospitals or garden centres, whatever, and get people signed up to the lottery. Now, obviously, we can't have any income that way at the minute. We can't get any new players signed up like that. So we're having to think of new ways to get people signed up to the lottery. So we're using our social media presence a lot more. We're also asking our current supporters to share the word for us as well, by sharing the details with family and friends, sharing our Facebook posts about the lottery and whatnot. And we've also asked some of our STH staff members to share the word for us. So yeah, just thinking of new ways. We've offered our current players the option to have like a payment holiday so that they don't just have to cancel. So yeah, looking at lots of new ways of how to promote our lottery in a very different way to what we were doing before.
Great stuff. And how have people reacted to that? Do you find people are up for it? Some are a bit sceptical, some are a bit nervous. What's the
Yeah, well, the most successful so far has been asking our current players to play extra tickets. That's had a really good response. I think it helps being a NHS charity. Obviously people want to help and want to support us, so they want to say thank you, and that's just one little way. It's £4.34 a month, so £1 a week, and it's just a nice easy way of people showing their support and their thanks to the NHS. So it has been welcomed. Obviously there's a lot more we can do because we haven't really used Facebook as much as we probably could have in the past. Neither have we emailed our supporters in a way that we will look to going forward. So we're yet to see if we'll get as big a response as we do by getting people signed up in the hospitals, but it's got to be better than nothing. So
for you, it's adapting the sort of social media side of things a bit more than maybe have in the past.
Yeah, using what we've got and what we can use, and making sure we utilise that to the best of our abilities so that we can keep that income.
Brilliant, that's great. Cheers, Marie. Thanks so much. And again, if you maybe want to, in the chat room, put the link to how people can get tickets, you can obviously put that up there and we'll share that with people. If anybody does want to put their £1 a week into something, please feel free to do that. But if you want to put that, for those that want to use the chat room, it is there for people who want to have a go at it. But please have a look at that. So thanks very much for that, Marie. Charlotte,
thank
a bit about your sort of challenges, again, sort of similar but different, I guess, from Weston Park's point of view.
Yes, I think again it's looking at this whole like I say new normal. So we're from Weston Park Cancer Charity, so helping and supporting cancer patients, which currently are some of the most vulnerable and extremely vulnerable people in the country. So I'm working from home. Our support centre is shut because we can't risk spreading any infection whatsoever. So I think I mentioned a few weeks ago that brought a whole new ball game in terms of we've got our support nurses working from home, thanks to Voot and Nigel we've got a whole system so that we can still take calls and deliver services over the phone. We're using Zoom for that as well, things like mindfulness sessions, which we found have actually had a really positive effect. So Fran, our senior support nurse, runs them, and it's helping people with mindfulness, but they used to be done in the centre, whereas we found that doing them over Zoom, people are finding like a nice little corner in the home and getting relaxed and sort of like maybe finding it a little bit easier to access. So it's probably something that we'll carry on doing as things go forward, and offering you can come in when we're back in, whenever that may be, or if you want to, you can do it from home, get in a nice comfy armchair, have a cup of tea and relax, and it's opening that access for everybody. Something that we are currently struggling with, you might have seen on the news yesterday, the news are going hard now on how COVID is affecting cancer patients, and there's so many people that we could be supporting but currently aren't accessing our services because either they don't know we're working from home or they just don't know the services are there. So a bit like Marie, really, we're adapting like our social media, trying to get the messaging out there, but there's still a lot of people that we're not hitting. So it's sort of, if I kind of plea really, if anyone has any means in which we'd just be able to share our message that we're only a phone call away, whether it's that somebody is a cancer patient and they're isolated and shielding at home and have nobody to speak to, and they literally just want to chat with somebody that's not the same four walls that they see every day, whether it's family or friends that are worried about somebody but can't go and see them, or again, whether it's somebody that is showing symptoms but they're worried about visiting the GP because of COVID. We're here to help, and the next few weeks and months is very much going to be spreading that message because things are going to start escalating. So we want to get in there with that support, and we're here for a chat if anybody needs us, or we've got welfare support and all sorts of different bits and bobs which can be a lifesaver for people.
Okay, so again, it might be worth putting some links for us to sort of share with those things, because I think it is quite interesting, this thing about changing behaviours. Again, the Unlimited session we did last week, we had Karen Mosley from HLM, and one of the things that they talked about was the change, how do they educate some of their clients to use the technology that they're actually saying, and some are up for it, but some actually need sort of educating and creating that new norm. But she also then talked a bit about the mental health stuff, and they've done a lot of work. Obviously, it's Mental Health Awareness Week this week. And this whole idea, they've sort of initiative called It's Okay Not to Be Okay. And it's actually almost giving people permission to say there's something not quite right. And they've actually found that, surprisingly, lots of people have actually come up with that maybe in the past they wouldn't have done. And I think it is this thing about, interestingly, how do we do this? So I thought it was interesting you were talking about sort of the mindfulness stuff. People will do that from home that maybe they wouldn't do at work. Anybody else doing anything around sort of the mental health thing, just any sort of things that they're doing? Holly, I mean, do you want to just tell us about what you're sort of seeing people do or not doing? I know often things been a bit touchy-feely, this stuff, but I think more and more people are realising the importance of it.
Yeah, I think they are, Andy, and I think it would be, I think now the kind of whole well-being and mental health, it's opened up in a way that we've never seen before, and I think a lot of people and businesses have kind of skirted around it a little bit, and it has been a little bit, you know, touchy-feely, uppity kind of thing. So it would actually be a shame to go back, because now a lot more people are having these honest conversations with people that they wouldn't usually. So I think it would be a shame to kind of lose that, and actually we really need to keep this going and keep that conversation open and honest. You know, and we've talked, you know, we kind of all know the stats and kind of how businesses can support people, because actually, you know, you've got a lot of, you know, people working, they've got so much else going on in life, but actually with what's happened, you know, we've stripped it back to the very bare basics, and your physical and your mental health, you know, they're the two things. So I think it's really key to kind of see how we can kind of keep supporting people with that, to recognise, you know, what they need to do for themselves, and kind of help people. And yeah, definitely, you know, kind of these Zoom meetings and things and conversations are great. And I think, you know, everybody's talking in a much more honest way than they used to. You know, and Mental Health Awareness Week this week, absolutely apt. You know, this, you know, stress awareness month last month, you know, again, couldn't have been better timing for either of those things. But I do think there's also something in that, Andy, what you've just said about there'll be a lot of dinosaurs out there, a little bit like me, that actually this has not opened up a whole new world, because they're not used to Zoom, to Skype, to phones, so they're even more cut off. So a lot of people really flourishing in this, but then some actually it's just brought up a whole other barrier, and that's really hard as well. So I think there's lots that we can do, and I think there's also something about not getting hung up in those questions of what's the new normal, because absolutely nobody knows, and it's just how we really manage that on our level.
And I think you're right, it's interesting, this big gap, I think, is the potential thing, isn't it? And I think it's, again, one of the things that Karen talked about, there are people that sort of accepting this and going for it, frustrated as hell that others aren't, but there are some people quite scared and unnerved by it all, so it's making sure that we try and keep everybody on board.
Absolutely, and I think we'll all go in periods of that as well. You know, like we've heard from some people, it's been a really great week this week, or it's been a actually pretty poor week, and even if you're generally accepting it, you'll have a dip, and it's just going to be like that, because life is anyway, but because of the situation, we'll just feel it more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that. Kate, do you want to just say, sorry, who?
On that, as some people may know, I've had problems with anxiety and stuff in the past, and I started doing some work with a life coach last year, and we've become friends, and she runs monthly personal development, mindfulness, positivity, negative self-talk type sessions. I'd said, when all this started, I said to her, well, why don't you try and do it via Zoom, see if people want it, ask the question in your group. And she's getting more people than ever on those sessions. Her business from that perspective is going really well, and people are finding it really useful. and just that staying in, like you say, it's that staying in touch with people as well. I mean, I live on my own, so it's even more isolating. And yeah, the Zoom, being able to contact via Zoom, staying in networks, it's so useful to just keep in touch with what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is interesting again in terms of people's reactions to it. James has just put up there, you know, about hiding the self view on Zoom. Some people are starting to not want to see themselves so much, and there are others that do. And it's trying to find the balance between different needs and that people actually have. Kate, can I sort of turn to you and just tell us a bit about sort of this new norm in terms of what City Grab is and how it's all going? Because again, I say we had Arnie tell us, I won't give you the figures away, but he actually said that overnight, City Taxis lost 80% of their revenue with taxis. And the figure that he talked about was amazing, how much they do take a week, or did. But the whole City Grab thing seems to be an opportunity.
Yeah, so it was obviously strange. So work just obviously started to drop in terms of taxi count because obviously people aren't going out. The bars and stuff were closing, so that obviously had a massive decline. So it was kind of an opportunity for us all to sort of. There was only sort of 2 people in the business who were really like focusing on Grab at the time. So for those who haven't used it, we launched a food delivery app and service at the start of the year. So basically, there was a team of us that jumped on board, and it's kind of just grown and grown, and sort of in the space of, I'd say, about 2 weeks, we went from like 5,000 app users to over 40,000. So it's kind of just really taken off, which is great. So Sheffield's kind of fully launched. We've still got a few more people coming on board in Sheffield, which is great. But we're also launching across our other sites. So we've obviously got a fleet in Barnsley, Chesterfield, and Derby. And Derby's our sort of next. So Chesterfield's already up and running, and that's going well. Barnsley and Derby are our next areas. So we're hoping by next week we will have launched City Grab in Derby during lockdown, which is a little bit strange because we're just doing it all from home. So yeah, it's going great though. But yeah, it's a different it's completely different to what my job was meant to be when I joined City Taxis anyway.
And is the plan to take it sort of right through the country? Is that hopefully?
Yeah, so with the plan, so we launched, the company's called Caboodle It, which is the app platform which we're now promoting, and other taxi fleets are now signing up to that. So Arnie and Paul have been doing talks to as far as Australia, so hoping to get it in all the taxi fleets there. So I suppose it's just a different offering to like the global company Uber. So it's giving people like I suppose a local option rather than having to sign up with your giant beast that's Uber essentially.
Excellent, that's great. Cheers, Kate. Thanks very much for that.
Can I just ask if that goes into Rotherham as well? My wife has a coffee shop that's in the Rotherham area, and she's reopening for takeaways only on Monday, and I just wondered if that was something we could look at as well.
We are creeping out to Rotherham, so if you drop me a message after this, I'll pop my email address in the chat if you want to drop me an email about it.
I'll do that.
You're halfway between Sheffield and Rotherham, aren't you, Nigel? You're not far off.
Yeah, it's Swallownest, it is. It's kind of on the borders near Mosborough.
Okay, yeah, we just need to have a look at the area and see if we could definitely, definitely have a
I don't know if you probably already thought of this, but what I find is when you're out in rural areas like Bakewell, that's where Uber doesn't exist. I don't know if there's an opportunity there, whether it's worth it because there's less business. Obviously, Uber aren't doing it for a reason, but the local taxi companies seem to have a bit of a monopoly in areas like this. And I think, being able to have an app would be amazing. I mean, I catch City Taxis from Sheffield to and from because it's cheaper than local ones. So I don't know if there's something there.
I think even if you look at things like Deliveroo and just and Uber Eats out in even in High Green, there's nothing. So we're in S6, so we're just on the border of. Whereas City, it doesn't matter with that. The other ones, they do have a net they throw, and if you're out of it, you're out of it. Simple. Whereas City there isn't a net in Sheffield as such.
Yeah, definitely. We because we've got a large fleet in Sheffield, we can take the food further. So the reason why a lot of people signed up with us is because I think with Uber Eats and Deliveroo, they're only sort of travelling 3 miles, and sometimes if it arrives on bite, your food sometimes that can arrive cold. So a lot of people have joined up with us because we can take it to the outskirts and get to those places. Now, in terms of Bakewell, we have actually had, so do you know Oi Soy, the really nice Asian restaurant in town? They're on the platform, and there was actually a customer who got in touch to say, I think it might have been Baslow, so maybe not as far as Bakewell, but they got in touch and just said, look, we really want to order from Oi Soy, can you please help us get it? So for that circumstance, we were like, of course. So we just expanded the radius and we got a driver to take it to them. So we're willing to do stuff like that to help people out if you do want something delivering.
There's a big smile on Jill's face then when you said that, Kate. So I think that might be something happening.
Yeah, let me know if you do, and I'll try and get something arranged for you.
Fantastic. And I'd also suggest that, if you can make it work in Barnsley, then you'll really be able to do it anywhere, won't you? I'm just thinking if we can get extra chips delivered to Wombwell, we'll be doing all right, won't we, Jill, on that one? So great stuff. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Can I request some Our Cow Molly ice cream over my way, which is not far from Nigel then, please, because they don't come this far on, and I'm desperate for some Chorus Chaos.
Whereabouts are you based, Holly?
So I'm in Anston, which is kind of just a little bit further from Nigel.
Okay.
If you could ever work that'd be magic.
Yeah, drop me an email about it and I'll check locations after this.
Thank you.
I'm in Dinnington, so yeah, I'm with the rest of you, more this side of town.
We're Thorpe Salvin, so we're all we're all out here. We're all desperate.
Yeah.
Holly, I've got some Chorus Chaos in the freezer, so if you're popping by,
I might have to, honestly.
Can I just add to that? Similar but different, still on the City Grab and City Taxis, and following on from James's comment about the value proposition. What I also loved about Arnie in that talk, and it was just brilliant, that unlimited thing, and he was just so humble and so giving in his speech, and we're hoping to involve him in something else that I'm talking to Charlotte about later. But I loved, his opening statement was, when we come out of this, I want to be known as a business in the city that stepped up and did something and are known for it. And I just think their value proposition, I mean, you might want to say, Kate, some of the stuff that you're doing above and beyond is just phenomenal, isn't it? And on the City Grab as well, in terms of what you're doing with the delivery fees as well, just if you want to add that.
Yeah, so on a weekend we've been choosing different charities, so all the weekend delivery costs are going to various charities to raise money, basically. So obviously I appreciate that so many charities are just losing out because all your events can't take place, so we're choosing different ones week by week. Initially we were doing like promotions, so like free delivery weekend or 99p delivery weekend, but I think people have actually responded better because people want to help out at the moment, and so we're just trying to do as much as we can to support other people. There's also some like really nice places on the app, so I don't know if have you heard of Pago fruit juice? So Marvin at Pago, he's literally just donating to various, so I think is he doing it to Weston Park now? And previously he's been donating to the NHS and stuff like that. So all his running costs at the moment, any profit he makes, he's donating that. So I think everyone's kind of just in this together and wants to help each other out at the moment, don't they?
And I think that's going back to this new norm thing. I think it'd be very interesting to see and hope. And I think Sheffield's always been not bad at it, but the sort of the Sheffield region, just about how do we keep things like this going and actually get people to buy local and work with each other and sort of really try and build on those things. Without being too inward looking, I think it's quite a useful way of looking at how do we keep all this going. I'm hoping that people will, and hope we can build on that. Sam, I know you're furloughed, so you're not allowed to sell anything or anything like that, but do you want to just tell us your little comment, which I thought was quite interesting, particularly about sort of the other furloughed people in your team?
Yeah, well, actually at the minute, there's only 3 of us left, myself and 2 service engineers who are restricted from travelling onto service ships. I do know one of the things our tech have looked at is how to sort of pivot online, but part of being furloughed is I'm not part of the regular communications from work, so I know things are happening, but I only know through sort of LinkedIn rather than someone been telling me. what specifically would you want to know? What I've been doing, or
the non-work WhatsApp group, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, so we have a non-work WhatsApp group that we set up before anybody went on furlough, so that it was a way of people to be able to keep in touch that wasn't work related. And we've had various competitions on there. So we've had a Guess Who competition. We've had a Whose Room Is It Anyway competition. This week, aside of the mileage, I've challenged all the men to dress up as women. I'm going to have a competition who makes the best woman. Just as a bit of fun. And then to try and get everybody active, this week we've set up a challenge to travel the distance to Singapore, which is just under 11,000 kilometres. So each week I'm looking at Strava, seeing who's done how many miles running, walking, cycling, and then just giving an update just to try and encourage people to get out and about.
Pretty impressive. Thanks very much. Anybody else, anything to sort of add? Any other things that you're doing that you think are worth sharing with people, things that are working for you at the moment, just so that we can, again, sort of learn from each other when it comes to doing things differently?
Andy, we did something, it's actually with Mountain Rescue. So what we're doing is we have bi-weekly training where obviously we do physical things that we can't do. So we're looking at ways to do training online through Zoom. And there was, we did some actual training on COVID, how to deal with a COVID patient after the incident last week. And I mean, I've been out of things for a bit, as I've said, so I don't know if this is teaching everyone how to suck eggs, but there was a Kahoot quiz at the end. I don't know if anyone's done that.
No.
Which was really good. Yeah, it worked really well. I think there was 40 of us on the call, and our lead medic did some COVID training because he's experienced a lot. He's a doctor at the Northern General, so he went through the PowerPoint presentation that you can do on Zoom, which I thought was really useful. I've not seen that. Like I said, I've not done many Zoom meetings, so he was able to run a PowerPoint presentation, which I thought, I bet that's really good for sales teams or a webinar meeting. And then he also told us there'll be a quiz at the end, so obviously we were taking full notice. And you had to have a separate device. It worked better with a separate device, but it was Kahoot, K-A-H-O-O-T, I think. And then there was a quiz, and you could see everybody's answers. And I thought that was a really useful of providing a presentation or some training, and then seeing how engaged people were. Because obviously when you're at home, you can end up, walking around, eating your tea and all sorts. But when we knew there was a quiz, we was a lot more focused. So, if people want to do training, I think, that's one thing saying we're going to do training on Zoom, but it's another saying, well, there's going to be a quiz at the end.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really good.
No, that's great. James, you've got some knowledge of Kahoot, have you?
Only on the family side and friends side, but it did work. It works better because you don't have to put people under pressure to make questions and categories or call people out for having the wrong answers. And yeah, so you've got to appreciate that you get halfway through and it can crash though, or you get a couple of duff questions that you really think, well, why the hell is that in there, and it's wrong, or but at least you've got an app to blame rather than a person at the end of a Zoom.
Right. No, well, we'll have a look at that one.
And there's a Sheffield section as well that we got on our Saturday night quiz, which had some good questions in. So you set the sections, so you choose sections apparently.
Okay, we'll have a look at that. Thanks for that. We'll put that up there. Jill, do you just want to talk about some of the things you just talked about maybe potential things that are happening soon?
Am I on mute? Yeah, I am. Yep. So we are just trying to think creatively, really, and seeing a lot of people work. We've always worked collaboratively and in partnership, and I think most people on here know about the female entrepreneurs and directors meetings that I run. That again, we're doing it via Zoom, and a bit like this, we've increased the frequency, so we're doing them every couple of weeks, and they've worked really, really well. And we've got a really good one next week coming up that I'll again share details. But the week after, Andy and I have just signed. We're going to a ball, which I think is interesting for some of the charities, because of course all of that has been wiped out. You can't actually do that. And I know Western Park, yours was quite near, wasn't it? But this is an online ball. And interestingly, what it's done, they've actually got 3,000 people who've signed up for this ball, which is just going to be amazing. They've got some high profile speakers and all that, and you get the menu, and it's from the top chef. It's a Scottish one, so it's Nick Nairn. So we actually get the menu, we all cook the dinner, we eat along, and it's £50 a family. And now I've done the sums, you know, if they've got 3,000 people going and it's £50, not everybody's going to be paying that, but even say it's 1 in 3, it's, you know, it's quite a nice income that they've got coming in. So I was thinking, you know, how can we perhaps do something like that? So I've got plans to do that for my next female entrepreneurs. So watch this space, everybody. So we're going to have a really creative menu, and I just thought it'd be quite a nice way of combining and sort of earning some money. So that's coming up in June, to be announced soon. And then we're talking later to Western Park. Andy and I were so inspired by this conference that we did, which again was £20, and they had 150 people on it. And basically there were 6 speakers. So we know that Western Park, they've got Master Cutlery Challenge, but we've also got the, is it 2-6 charity. So we thought we'd do something similar and have 2 hours, 6 speakers. And we thought we'd sort of look at that, doing that in a session, and look at people contributing, say, £20, and we're going to try and get 100 people on that. So I think this idea of working together, being creative, using the online community, are sort of the areas that we're looking at. And then we are doing the Unlimited again, which we did last time with Karen, Arnie and Ash from Evoluted. We've now got a new 3 lineup, and I think that Andy will tell you for sure, but I think that's, is it the 10th, 11th of June?
June the 10th, yeah.
June the 10th. And again, so we've just got the final speaker organised for that yesterday. So I think that will be another good one, because I thought that really worked well, and it widened the community as well. So I think this idea of partnership working, talking with, you know, working with different people and reaching different parts is something that we've got really quite involved with. Is that okay, Andy?
Absolutely, thank you. And last but not least, it is 10 o'clock. Just going back to the event that we we attended last week. Some questions that somebody just talked to us, maybe to help thinking about what the new normal might look like. And I thought this is sort of quite a good maybe way to sort of think a bit about your business. Think about your customers, think about your people. What are the behaviours that will change or have changed as a result of it? What are people doing differently in the behaviours side of it? But what are the implications for you in terms of what you do and how you do it? And what are the opportunities and threats to you? What do you need to do? So it's really trying to look ahead and say, what are the behaviours that people are changing or will change? What are the implications for you, and what opportunities and threats does that create for you to do something about it? Just to leave you with that, we will see you again in 2 weeks' time. Everybody's okay with that. Hopefully things might be a bit clear about what we're doing. But in the meantime, all I'd say, as ever, is keep safe, keep healthy, keep thinking in 3D, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Take care. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you, Andy.
Bye. Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye.